My favorite quote has to be from Dwight D. Eisenhower's speech. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you. I never really understood that until I walked on Utah Beach. I imagined soldiers thinking of their families, hoping they would come back home just to see the smile on their face. I also think of that word liberty and how men fought for freedom without ever thinking of themselves as heroes. While we were walking around the British cemetery, I saw a grave that said age 18 written on it. Well, that's how old I will be by the end of this year. And I can't imagine myself doing something like they did, sacrificing their life. When I think of all the men that gave their life in this war, I think of their parents and how they must have felt. It has been said that in peace, sons bury their fathers. In war, fathers bury their sons. It makes you think of not only the sacrifice of the soldier, but of their families. I think it is an overall community that is affected by a war, and it should be recognized. Waukegan isn't a big city. It's north of Chicago in nearby Lake Michigan. That's where my soldier came from, my hometown. Robert M. Follensbee was originally from Minnesota and born in 1921. He later moved to Waukegan in a nice white house on Summit Avenue, which I can see perfectly from my history classroom. As I see the house, I picture him playing basketball and baseball like he did for the high school team. I also picture his dad, Aaron Follensbee, asking him if he could give him a hand with the painting at his job, or his mom, Etta Follensbee, telling him that dinner was ready. As I flipped through the yearbook of his high school days, I noticed he was in ROTC for all 4 years. Then I start thinking of his sister Betty, running to him as he walked through the door with his uniform on. From the yearbook, I also see that he was in history club, which made me feel a little warm inside, knowing that we share some same interests. He graduated from high school in 1938 and joined the National Guard in 1940. JROTC likely gave him the advantage of knowing what the military was all about. He was inducted into the Army on March 5, 1941. He was a first lieutenant in the 12th Infantry Regiment, 4th Infantry Division, Battalion 3, 3rd Battalion, Company K. He was in charge of about 30 people. All the training in the world could not have prepared him for what was to come. The 4th Infantry Division saw its first action in France at Utah Beach and had plans to capture Cherbourg. About 197 people died on Utah Beach on June 6, 1945. My soldier was not one of them. It doesn't fit through my head that someone can run up those beaches with so much on their backs while trying to dodge artillery. I couldn't even run, and I had nothing but a sweater and a bag on. I picture you hiding in the hedgerows while keeping an eye on the Germans around the Montaberg area. Then suddenly, you were asked to hold high ground in Montaberg at all costs. And on June 12th, as the fighting was continuously heavy, you laid in a bomb crater for protection. You fixed your bayonet and prepared to attack as you were told to do so. When Captain Lindner shouted, "Charge, follow me," you ran across open ground toward the enemy line. You weren't surviving this time. Now I'm remembering your house again, and your sister checking her mail and getting a letter that looked quite odd. I imagine your mother dropping the stirring spoon she had in her hand and falling to the ground as your dad ran from the garage to see what had happened. I see this quote that reminded me of you and your family. We pictured your return, the clasp of your hand. God said we'd meet in a better land. As I walked down the graves, I couldn't help but think of all the sacrifice the soldiers put forth. I don't think you ever saw yourself as a hero, or anything important for that matter. It seems that to the world you were only just a number, and that's not right. It's sad to put everything in numbers, because it's not what it's all about. It's much more than that. It's much more than anyone can explain. You gave your life for your country. I want you to know that I will never forget you and the way you made me feel just by writing this. I feel like I have this special duty to tell everyone about you. In a way, I feel connected to you, not only because your name closely resembles that of my father and brother, but because we come from the same place. We walked down the same streets. We cheered on the same team. We visited the same beautiful lake. We reminded ourselves that we were always something bigger. There was always something bigger than us. Perhaps that's what allowed you to make the sacrifice you did, to put all on the line for freedom, because it was bigger than yourself. Although you might not have gotten all the things you wanted to do, I want you to know that I will live for you, and I will always remember you.